Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football. And we've got your Week 17 start and sit video for the wide receiver position. If you guys are new to the channel, our points of view are always based off of PPR and half PPR. If it is a standard league, of course, hit us in the comments down below. We might have some different suggestions based off of a standard league scoring. So that is going to be a little different. If you guys have not already, make sure you check out our start and sit video for the quarterback and running back position. That way you guys are ready for this championship week, because this is championship week, at least for most people. Some might be playing next week, but you should be hopefully playing this week. If not, obviously I'll have videos for you guys out next week. Now, these are your obvious starts at the wide receiver position. These are the guys that I recommend, no matter it be a matchup, that they're just going to have a great game, or it just be that they are the wide receiver one that gets plenty of targets their way to obviously be in your lineup at all times. Now, the first wide receiver I want to recommend this week is going to be Allen Lazard versus the Vikings. Vikings allow the league worst in receiver yards. It's 204 yards per game. Their combined points as well, they've been allowing 24.1 points to wide receivers in the last 4 games. So that wide receiver one has been doing a fantastic job against the Minnesota Vikings secondary. Their secondary pretty much non-existent. Green Bay also really needs this win for them to have any possible hope of getting into the playoffs. Lazard right now has been still the team leading target receiver. He's getting all the receptions his way. Doesn't necessarily mean they converted anything great. The big time play receivers, of course, Christian Watson, but he's dealing with an injury right now that could possibly put him out of this game. He had to leave last week's game a little bit early due to the injury, and there's a good chance he misses this week, which really puts the pressure and shoulders onto Lazard. And then, of course, Romeo Doubs, if he obviously plays, because they are dealing with injuries there as well. But I like Lazard in this matchup. I like this game. I think this is going to be a game where Green Bay could possibly win it. Vikings always have put up really close games and have won in the last possible second. I don't know if they'll be able to do that against Green Bay. But whether they do or not, I like Lazard in this matchup. Now, another receiver I like this week is going to be Mike Evans versus the Panthers. Now, Carolina has been pretty tough against the Bucs, but this game is way too important for Tom Brady and the Bucs, and this offense has got to get back on track. And I expect it against this week. I've Godwin as an obvious start if you guys looked at the other receivers I mentioned, because he's clearly been the most consistent receiver for Tom Brady. I mean, realistically, he's getting so many more targets than Mike Evans, and of course, he's converting those targets. Now, granted, Brady's always been like that. Brady's always loved the slot receiver. He's loved the guy who's 5 to 10 yards, not necessarily the deep receiver at all times. Obviously, he had some great rapport with Mike Evans last year deep down the field, and of course, Randy Moss back in his early days. But Brady has been one of those guys who's just methodical. He's just bam, bam. He's going to kill you short and medium range, and that's what he's always been fantastic at. But I like Evans in this matchup. Last game he played against the Panthers early this season, he put up 18 points. He had 9 receptions, 93 yards. He had 15 targets. I think Godwin had 13 targets in that game. So I really like this matchup for him. I really do see Mike Evans having a great performance. And again, I see the Bucs offense getting back on track against the Carolina Panthers in this one. Now, another receiver I recommend as a good start is the Jerry Jeudy versus the Chiefs. I know Wilson sucks. I know he stinks. I know he got benched. He's expected to be back in the starting lineup. I get it. But against the Kansas City Chiefs, they're not good on defense, let's be honest. And this is a game where Russell Wilson will look like his old self. He did earlier this season when he played him, and I expect something similar to this one. Jeudy put up 33 points last game. He had 8 receptions. He had 3 touchdowns. I don't expect the same touchdown performance. That's just impossible to have 3 touchdowns again. But I do expect 8 to 9 receptions. Very similar aspect as he did last time. They've got to try to keep up. Sutton is back, which is great. That only helps Jerry Jeudy because now you have another receiver to help on the opposite side. So I really like Jerry Jeudy a lot this week. Now, as far as wide receivers that I'm recommending sitting this week, I've got Christian Kirk versus the Texans. Texans have actually done a really good job against wide receivers. They've held receivers to 11.57 points the last 4 games, holding players like CeeDee Lamb under 10 points and Mark Cooper under 9 points. They've done a really good job. Christian Kirk, the first time they played early this season, had 3 targets and 1 reception. I'm sure a lot of you guys remember that game. Do I expect a better performance? Yeah, absolutely. I don't think he's going to be put down to 2 points in fantasy. I don't expect that. I do expect a better performance out of him, but Jacksonville doesn't really need this game. The game that matters to them is Tennessee Titans. So depending on how this game plays out, I don't know how much longer the whole first team offense even really plays. They might play the whole thing just to keep the rhythm going, which I think is the right thing to do. But there's a chance that maybe they're up by 2 touchdowns, right? Who knows? Depending on how this game plays, they may be sitting some players. So Christian Kirk is one that I'm not recommending this week. Zay Jones is another one I'm not crazy about. I know Zay has some really good games, but this Texas defense does a really good job. They really do put some players up. And a lot of times it has to do with the fact that you're up 10, 15 points, 14 points, whatever it might be, and then you tend to run the ball. So that's where I've kind of been nervous with some of the receivers as far as going against the Texans. Now, another receiver I'm not recommending this week, and this is going to be a big one, is Davante Adams versus the 49ers. Now, this may not be a hot take anymore, but you're losing your starting quarterback, and you're playing the number one defense in the league. That's a big ouch. Like, this is a game where if you have other options at wide receiver, you've got to put him in over Davante. I don't expect Davante to have a great game. This defense is hungry. They're great. They're good at stopping the pass. They're good at stopping the run. They get after the quarterback. You've got now Jarrett Stidham, who you just don't know. You don't know how it's going to play out. And last week, Davante Adams, with his quarterback Derek Carr and with a better matchup, put up 3 fantasy points. Like, he probably lost you the game last week. If you're still watching this, you survived the Davante Adams, mishap last week, but it's really tough. And the 49ers have held wide receivers to 14.3 points the last 3 games. This is one I'm definitely looking at some other options instead of playing him. Now, the last receiver I'm recommending sitting this week is Chris Olave versus the Eagles. Prior to the 33-point performance that CeeDee Lamb put up, the Eagles were only allowing 13 points to receivers the last 3 games. Olave isn't part of a great offense where he has someone else on the opposite side helping him. Kamara's been average at best this season. So realistically, he's seeing double coverage early on in his rookie year. It's been tough on him. He's learning. He's getting better. But Andy Dalton is not a quarterback that can throw the ball in spots where even if he is double cover, it's going to be catchable, right? It's either overthrown, underthrown, or just not thrown his way. Olave has been out also only averaging 10 points a game the last 3 games as well. So this is a really tough matchup. Chris Olave is somebody I'm definitely sitting. Maybe a flex play if you need to. In PPR, you might have some possible. He's got a good ceiling, but it's not perfect in this one. I'm looking at some other options. Now, as far as sleepers go, I've got Kendrick Bourne versus the Dolphins. Right, Bourne is a nice little sleeper due to the fact that both teams really need this game. This is really huge. And that usually sparks someone who you're not used to seeing stand up and really be a big game changer. I see Kendrick Bourne being that guy. He had a great performance last week. Him and Jacoby Myers had a great one. Now, Jacoby Myers is the wide receiver one in that team. He's going to get a lot of the attention, which I do believe is going to help. Miami Dolphins do a really good job against receivers, holding to 13.7 points the last 5 games. So it is a tough matchup. But I do see Xavier Howard on Myers. I see Kendrick Bourne really taking advantage of it, running the slot, second receiver. So I like this one as a good one. I like him as a good sleeper. I like him as a good flex. You should be putting him in your lineup. I wouldn't say 100% confidence, but I like this matchup for him. I do think he's going to have a really, really good game. So those are my start, sits, and sleepers for the wide receiver championship week 17 edition. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you check out our other start and sits for quarterback and running back for this week. Again, championship is such a big one. If you guys obviously do have games next week, we will be dropping start and sit videos for that as well. If you guys did enjoy the content and you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button, and that notification bell is on as well, so that way you guys are notified every time we drop a video just like this. Once the season's done, we'll be dropping some Dynasty content, so again, stay tuned. Season is never over. This is football. We talk about it all year round. So again, check out our start and sit videos, and I'll check you guys out next time.